With performance and premiums like the Audi S4, your BMW M340i, or even your Mercedes AMG C43, I'm happy that Robert has given us the fully redesigned 2022 Genesis G70 3.3T, the launch edition. There's only one of 500 units in the Verbier White here at Genesis of Newport Richey. The redesign begins with all new striking exterior, more aggressive for the front and the rear, updated interior with larger tech, premium materials throughout. Is this going to be the best performance with value? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and we're going to go over all the specs and details starting now. The redesigned Genesis G70 incorporates styling from the G80 and the GV80, so the lines are going to basically match and have a distinctive look, a lower, wider front crescent grille. You will have the sensor functionality in the front, so you have your forward collision assist. And I like the fact that this is a little bit smaller and it doesn't express itself as much. So you still have an aggressive stance going onto the lower trim, functional side curtains, and all on the lower trim as well. Ground clearance is still at 5.1 inches with a height of 55.1 inches. I like how everything just brushes. And the way the grille is structured, it looks like a heart, which, you know, I kind of like that because you need all that air to beat into the heart of that 3.3 liter twin turbo with your quad LED headlamps. I also like this because this here sets the tone. You're not going to basically say this is a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz or even an Audi. You're going to know a Genesis just by the headlamp assembly, and then going onto the badge with the wings that fly outwards into your aerodynamic hood. Just a nice little touch that they do, especially when you're inside, which you'll see for the drive. You can literally see the wings from the front windscreen. So I like the setup with 72.8 inches. The sharp lines flow into the aerodynamic fenders that are filled with lightweight 19-inch multi-spoke alloy wheels that are blacked out. Behind those red calipers, Brembo brakes. Disc reading, 13.6 inches, ventilated, 4 pistons in the front, 2 pistons in the rear, 13 inches, ventilated in the rear. Available all-wheel drive will add the dynamic torque vectoring control. We have the rear-wheel drive, so you get a limited slip differential, 4-wheel independent, sports-tuned suspension, McPherson strut front suspension, multi-link rear suspension, so you have all the performance gauges that will conquer the German rivals that we're talking about. A length at 184.9 inches with a wheelbase at 111.6 inches, which is going to be smaller than the BMW and the Mercedes. So just keeping that in mind, because when it's a little bit smaller, even though the interior might be a little bit tighter in the rear, it's still going to be a little bit more performance driven, especially with the sleek styling that you get. Lane keep assist, lane forwarding assist, blind spot monitoring, low center of gravity. So you know what? You have specs that you would never expect. But you know what? That's what the Genesis is doing with the quad LED taillights, which is something that I do like because in the front and the rear, you can tell this is a Genesis. The performance screams on all 4 corners as well with all of the sharp angles. So any which way you cut the cookie, you're not going to see that this is a match to BMW or Audi or even Mercedes. This is something more unique. You have your spoiler lip that's a little touch, so it's a little fly underneath the radar, kind of like the Audi S4, but I like that. Your front and rear parking sensors, 360-degree reverse camera, rear cross traffic alert with safe exit warning, which is great because Again, at the end of the day, it's a performance-driven vehicle. When you have this much horsepower, sometimes when you're going to get your groceries, you just want to go quick. So put it into reverse, hit the gas. You know what? You got that warning that's going to help you so you don't run into somebody. Dual exhaust outlets, and they're tucked inside the shelf. You got the diffuser, and you have this honeycomb on the side that stresses performance. But the best part, the variable exhaust valve system, which we have, it increases horsepower and it gives you a louder exhaust note, which us petrol heads, that's what we want to hear. A Genesis scream. But before we do that, we're going to go into this cargo that has 10.5 cubic feet. It's going to be a touch more than the Mercedes AMG C43. And you could split fold the rear bench at a 40-20-40 fold, maximizing your cargo space. But you know, I'm ready to hear the exhaust note with that variable exhaust sound. The new Genesis G70 brings the competition with the sharp lines and the performance out of that 3.3 liter twin turbo V6, producing 365 horsepower. The variable exhaust valve system increases that to 368 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, achieving 18 to 27 mpgs, and that's good for a 0 to 60 around 4.7 seconds, which is right on par with the Germans. The striking styling, I like the numbers that we're getting. Quarter mile, just under 13 seconds at top speed. Faster than the Germans. It's going to be between 145 and 167 miles per hour. Insane what they're doing with Genesis and moving forward. Let me know in the comments what you think about the 2022 Genesis G70 launch edition as we go into the interior, go over the tech, and take this for our test run. Entering inside the Genesis G70, you're going to receive 38.5 inches of headroom, which is more than the AMG C43 and the Audi S4. 42.6 inches of legroom, which is more than the BMW, also beats the other German rivals as well. You're going to have an elegant diamond quilted Sevilla Red Napa leather. You're going to have more than 12-way power adjustments. You have power seat bolsters, 4-way lumbar supports, and cushion extenders. You have memory for the driver. This is super luxurious, especially for the price point. Not trying to go over the top, but Genesis has done a great job. The dashboard is very clean, and the best part is they now have implemented the new 10.25 touchscreen with navigation. So we have the pinch, we have the swipe, you have your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, XM radio, HD radio, Lexicon 15 speaker premium sound system. This is not that huge of a cabin, so I mean, you got a ton of sound, and it's so clean up here and easy for the driver to really configure everything. Ventilated, heated front seats, heated leather-wrapped steering wheel. It's multi-function. You got that contrast stitch work with the paddle shifters. For the gauge cluster, you have an 8-inch gauge cluster, which can go through an array of information all the way up to even your navigation. So you have everything pretty much taken care of, and if not, you got a heads-up display. So again, full round luxury. When you turn your signals on, it will show you the side that your signal is indicated. You'll see the camera. So when you're driving, it just helps with that blind spot monitoring. And they're the only company that does this. So the Germans really need to step up their game if they're really trying to compete. Dual climate control settings. You got your wireless charging pad, which is huge. It's a little bit driver focused, so you do have a cutoff here. However, it's not too over the top. You have your USB, you have your 12 volt. For the gear lever area, you have aluminum trims that's around everything. And when the light hits it, it projects a different image, which is super cool. You have your driving mode select, which put it into Sports Plus, and you can hear that throaty exhaust note. Cup holders, I like the pattern around it. Very ritzy and elegant. Cup holders, you can easily fit, I would say, a 32-ounce cup. That's a 16.9-ounce water bottle without any issues. Elbows is going to be more derived for sport than luxury. The seats, though, are going to be a little bit more luxury with the sport when you put it, because it'll bolster against your sides. Open up in here to some more storage and another USB. On the door panels, you get the diamond quilted stitch work, one touch up and down for all the windows. windows, the speaker work, and you got the aluminum trim. I like what's going on with the contrast stitching. Storage, I would say you could fit about 2 or 3 16.9-ounce water bottles, which is super efficient for a sports performance sedan. You got your power moonroof. Let's check out those back seats. For the back seats, I'm at 36.9 inches of headroom, 34.9 inches of legroom. This is going to be a little bit more space in the Audi and BMW. It's going to be a split between the two for headroom and legroom. This will be a little bit tighter and more cramped for the back seat occupants. As for the elbows, it's going to be soft. The seats, they're soft. I mean, it's not too bad in the seat in the position that I'd be sitting, but if it was a little bit further back, it would make it complicated. You do have your air vents in the center with a USB port, storage behind both of the front seats. Realistically, though, cup holders, you can only fit the 16.9-ounce water bottle here. It doesn't actually fit in the door panel. I tried, unless you kind of squeeze it. You could probably fit a 20-ounce. That's about max, and you could put a larger cell phone here. I do like the aluminum that comes into the door panel and the fact that they keep that diamond quilted stitch work. The floor is not completely flat. Let's see how I look in the center. Sitting into the center, headroom is going to be a bit of a problem. Legroom is the same. The nice thing though is you can adjust the front seat and bother them a little bit, so that way I can actually fit back here. The disadvantage, I'm using the central air vents. There's not enough charging ports. Shoulder space will be fine and leg space will be fine. It's just going to be tight to fit anyone over 6 foot tall in the center. But realistically speaking, most of the people are going to be able to make it work with their kids because they're going to be hearing that nice exhaust note. Taking the 2022 Genesis G70 launch edition out, one of 500 units, which is an amazing opportunity, especially if you're looking to get this vehicle, because you don't have to worry about ordering it. When I went online to look at it, you know, they're still placing orders, so there's still a little bit of availability, but you know what? You can get it now. And as I've been driving and testing the vehicle throughout the review, I do like the way everything sits. I mean, the proportion layouts, you can see, like I was saying on the exterior, those wings in the front of the hood, and it just goes forward like you're flying. So that is super cool, which is a nice thing. We're going to finally use those driving modes. So we're going to switch it where we can play around with it a little bit. And that's what you're going to do when you get this car. Stop in the middle of the road, giving it some gas. And here we go, guys. Active exhaust note is on. And showing you the brakes. Look at this. So you can speed if you need to, and you can brake if you need to, all in between. Plus, you can switch it back to your comfort, release the bolstering in the seat, and just drive a luxury ride. As you get up to a higher speed, it does get a little bit noisier, but the throaty exhaust note cuts out all the sound barrier, so you don't have to worry. Dual pane windows are in the front, not in the rear, unfortunately. But for the price point, all the bells and whistles that you're getting, I mean, this is really going hard against the German rivals. And when I talk about it like that, I'm saying it because you're getting a discount too. It's like couple $1,000s cheaper than most of the German rivals, and the speed is right on point with it. The luxury amenities, it has a little bit more soft materials. I like that you got the upgraded infotainment screen. It's user friendly. You can just push on the buttons. You don't have to actually physically touch everything, so it makes it easier. You don't have to worry about reaching out so far. You feel pretty situated nicely the way you sit in the cabin. The ground clearance is really good. You don't have to really go crazy for maneuverability. Now obviously you're not going to race the car every time you have this vehicle. You're going to drive it nice and slow too, so in comfort mode you can get up to speed relatively quick. In the blind spot monitoring thing, I don't know why other automotive industries hasn't done this, because it is super safe and easy. As you get up to a speed around 45, 50, you start hearing the noise through the wheel wells, a little bit through the windscreen, but it's pretty quiet for the most part, so the sound dampening is good. And you know, when you have this active exhaust note, just put it back into sport mode. Plus, you're not gonna have to worry about anything. It's gonna filter everything out, and you got all the safety features as well, so you're taken care of in that perspective. Using the paddle shifters, I mean, it kicks you back immediately when you push the throttle. Nearly 400 pound-feet of torque. Maneuverability, not an issue. This is a sports car at the end of the day, so you can get in and out of anything you need to. And the best part is you got the vibration on the steering wheel, so everything for safety to protect you. And that's exactly what you're wanting with the performance-driven vehicle. So that way, it's like a second set of eyes, and you don't really have to look and be concerned. 365 horsepower, and with that exhaust at 368, you have the performance underneath it, 0 to 60 under 5 seconds. As for dynamics, you can stay pretty planted, as you can see. The nice thing about this is when you change the actual driving modes, it will change the dynamics of the vehicle as well. So the steering will get a little bit more harder. As you put it into comfort, it's going to loosen up, as you can see. So that is super cool, and it also makes the suspension feel a little bit more smoother too for longer journeys. But if you like that raw power all the time, keep it into sport mode with the bolstering, and you know what? It's all right that it's going to be a little bit of a rough road. It's going to soak up impurities for the most part. At a higher speed, at a lower speed, you will feel a little bit of the bumps. As for the turn radius, checking it at more or less a stop point, you're going to be getting about 2 lanes and giving it some gas and comfort. It sets you back. It is such a playful vehicle. Wow. Eco mode, not really a difference in the pedal, not really a difference in the steering. Now there is 3 things I like and 3 things that I dislike. Is anything more than that, I'd be buying this vehicle. The 3 things that I like is you get the upgraded infotainment, you get the heads-up display, the gauge cluster, you have a digital readout. Everything is pretty advanced and it's moving forward. Plus the performance, I know it's a lot of things, we'll just encase it as one. The second thing that I like about the vehicle is the comfort in these seats. They are super comfortable, and you have probably 20 different ways of power adjustments, and this car just touches a hair over $50,000 for a special edition. No way you would ever get that with the Germans. The last thing that I like about the vehicle is the styling. Every angle from the exterior, you can tell this is a Genesis, and in the interior, I feel so luxurious. So they really did hit it right. It's a bullseye. That's the best way to say it. 3 things that I dislike about the vehicle. On the flip side, the back seat. It's very tight. Comparing it to the Germans, you're going to be losing some space. Charging ports, you're lacking in that. There's just a few things. I mean, we're gonna just encase it as one. The second thing that I dislike is the cargo. The cargo is a pretty efficient size. However, I wish it was a little bit bigger because the vehicle is only about 1 inch or so less than the Germans, and it's, I hate to say, it's substantially less. It's about 2 or 3 cubic feet less than the Germans in storage, which is quite a bit when you're trying to fit some bags, go to the airport or anything like that. The third thing that I dislike about the vehicle is I wish that it was just right at 400 horsepower, because what happens is people are going to constantly say, well, why don't you just get the Kia Stinger GT2? It's the same power. There's a difference between the two, and you can feel it when you get behind the wheel. However, because the numbers suggest the same, that's where you're going to have some of the fighting. Giving it a little go here. That way you can really hear that exhaust note, and you can get the feel of what this vehicle is all about. Such a treat, especially with the luxury amenities that you get. It's an inclusive all-in-one vehicle, which is something that you very rarely see, and it's a special edition. Switching to reverse, you do have a 360-degree camera with trajectory. You can also change the different viewpoints to make it super easy for you as well. You can also click and zoom in, and you can do the same thing here. So that way you can make it very easy for your reversing. I'd like to thank Robert and Sean here at Genesis of Newport Richey for giving us this 2022 Genesis G70 launch edition for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, click that subscribe button. Check out the details, the merchandise, and everything we do here at Hawkeye Ride.